All right, welcome back. Here we are at Rehearsal B in We Found Love, and we just got through our kind of repetitive synth part, and now comes the fun. We are going to be combining two things at once. So, you know what Rihanna's singing, you know. And if you haven't noticed, there are, a dozen videos on YouTube of really good violinists with their headphones on, and they're playing to Rihanna's track, and they're playing over her voice, kind of like karaoke. And while I think that's fine, I don't think it's particularly cool unless you're doing all the parts yourself. So that's what we're going for here. So we need to combine that original kind of hammering away with Rihanna's voice. And it took me a while to figure out how to kind of do that in a way that felt comfortable on the violin. But anyway, here's what we came up with. Let's see. So. Now, maybe that slow playthrough was enough for you, but if it wasn't, don't worry at all. We're going to take you through this kind of one step at a time. So, first measure, right at rehearsal B. Again, it's that same 1 and 2 that we learned in the previous tutorial. All right, now, forget about the bowings for a second. Let's just walk through the notes one step at a time. So, 3. It's a really dissonant sound, and then the 4, and that's an octave, so it should sound really nice and in tune. So we're going to the 3, and then the 2 and the 3 together, so leave that 3 on, and this is called a fourth. And fourths have to be especially in tune or they sound not so good. So. Alright, next measure, we go to the 1 in the open. I'm sorry, it's a 1 and 1. I have my music right here. 3, 3. And don't really move your wrist like that. I'm just doing that to show you, getting up in the camera's face for that. So, and then probably the best thing you can know about this piece is it repeats itself over and over and over again. So, while it looks like 4 kind of challenging pages, the truth is that it repeats so many times that, I don't know, it's probably a fraction of the music. So, we did the first measure and the second measure of rehearsal B. Here we are in that third measure after B, and it's the exact same as the first measure, at least the first part is. I take it back. It's exactly the same. So no sense in wasting your time practicing that twice. And I'm serious about that. When you're performing it, of course you'll work on it, but you've already done your work. It's time to go on. So what we have now is when we scoot forward from the fourth measure after B, which is measure 8. You can see the little 8 in your music. We have a shift immediately into third position. We're landing here, if this helps, which it's not so helpful, right, because it's so dissonant. But at the same time, because it's dissonant, it kind of gives you just a little bit of leeway as long as you hit the important note. What is the important note? Right? Her voice. So we're going to get that B flat, which is the third finger on the D string in third position. And then the first finger, we're just going to kind of find our way. Now, I teach a technique to my students called blocking, and that is just that I like to know how many whole steps and half steps there are between things. It makes the layout of the violin much easier. So when we're on our 3, you can kind of imagine that the 2 is a half step away, or it's touching the 3s. And then the 1 is a whole step away. So the finger position kind of looks like that. So they're pretty close, the 2 and 3, but then the 1 is pretty far away. And then we're going to take that 1 and just move it over to the G string. And believe it or not, this is one of the harder shifts in the whole piece. A lot of the stuff after this is a lot easier. So don't fret if it is giving you a hard time. So, and just practice it over and again, over again. All right, I won't bore you with that. You go ahead and do that. Maybe even pause the recording. So it's the 1, 3, 1, and then that 2 that we actually just practiced a second ago with the blocking is right there. And then we're going to slide down into first position. Boy, if you needed practice on your fourths, this is a great piece to practice it on. I didn't even realize that. So, so that's that kind of squirrely measure. So this is, we're starting at B. We got the first measure, the second measure, no problem. The third measure is the same as the first, no problem. This fourth measure, which is measure 8 of the piece, you can see right there, is challenging. And this is a place where you'll want to practice. The shift into it, shift down, and then it's really important at this point to kind of prepare your first finger, because we want to make it sound like a fresh beginning. We don't want to make it sound slurred. Even though it is slurred, we want to make it sound like Rihanna, right? So, and that's why I didn't just put a slur mark. I put the down bow marking on top of that, which is I wanted you to slightly re-articulate that note. I don't want you to stop your bow. You're definitely still smoothly going into it, but... Now, here's the great news. Look at this. We already did this measure, this next measure, which is measure 9. We already did measure 10. We already did measure 11. How many times have we done measure 11 at this point? We've done it. This will be our 4th time, right? And good news, measure 12 is the same thing, that same shift. Those fourths are tough, but worth the time to really get them in tune. Okay, so I'll play this one through for you just one more time slowly. Sorry about the sound. When I make the official recordings of these, I use pretty high-tech equipment. I'm just recording this on my iPad, so I can see my fingers and make sure that you're seeing things really clearly. So here it goes, from Rehearsal B to Rehearsal C. And that takes us to Rehearsal C. If you're having trouble with those double stops, I'm intending to make a separate kind of double stop video. I think the bowings are pretty clear, and I think I went slowly enough, but if for some reason you're having trouble or you need me to make like an addendum video for anything, send me an email to adamdegraff@yahoo.com, and just remember, practice slowly, practice carefully, relax your body, make sure you're listening to yourself really carefully, and that's your practice session. And when you perform, just play fast and take lots of chances. It's a lot of fun. Thanks.